Welcome to Beer N Bulldogs. This show is about responsible dog ownership, the history, and appreciation of the American Pit Bull Terrier. We do not promote or condone any illegal activities, including animal cruelty or dogfighting, which are not only unethical, but also violate the Animal Welfare Act of 1976. This is strictly for legal, ethical, historical, and entertainment purposes. Let's keep it positive and show these amazing dogs the respect they deserve. Cheers!
About to go down, so who's gonna be my dogs? Cause I'm about to break some laws. I ain't supposed to get in any trouble again. If I do, they gonna put me back in the pen. But you like to dodge my calls, so I'm about to break your jaw. I ain't scared of doing time, it ain't even on my mind at all. So who's gonna feed my dog?
Yo, it's Calypso from Beer N Bulldogs. If you're serious about your dogs, you need gear that's just as tough as they are. That's why I rock with Bulldog Strong. Built for strength, durability, and performance. Whether you're conditioning, training, or just taking a walk, their harnesses, collars, and leashes can handle the pressure. And when the work gets real, they got braking sticks to keep things under control. So don't settle for weak. Don't just be strong. Be Bulldog Strong. Yo, it's Calypso from Beer N Bulldogs. If you're serious about feeding your bulldogs right, working dogs, performance dogs, or just your everyday beast, I rock with Showtime 2720. It's been solid for mine. Now, you can't just order it online, but it's out there. Just hit that link in the description. Drop your zip code and find a dealer near you. And hey, if you pick up a bag or one of them dope ass hats, let them know Beer N Bulldog sent you.
So people come to my house and they ask me, do that dog bite? And I go, not me. I say, not me.
Welcome to Beer N Bulldogs. I'm your host, Calypso, and this is the show where we talk about the game-bred American Pit Bull Terrier, working breeds, and all things bulldogs. Over a cold one, of course. And today we got a very special guest for you. This man is definitely not new to the dogs, been in it for a long time, has a family of dogs that he breeds. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and get into it. We got Warmouth from Warmouth Kennels. Hey, what up, Warmouth? Can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going, man? You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How about yourself? How you been?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, it keeps freezing up. I don't know I don't know what's going on. It kind of keeps freezing up.
Well, you seem to be all right now, so seems like everything's good.
Okay. All right.
All right, man.
All right. But yeah, man, what's up?
Oh man, I'm just chilling, man. It's a good day, Friday. Got off work, having a beer and talking with you, man, on some dog talk, man.
I guess I had a little bit better day because I didn't have to go to work today.
Yeah, that's right, man. Well, you know what it is, man. I have some questions for you.
Yeah, I don't know. Today's my first day. Today's my first day in the dogs. I don't know, man.
I dig it. I dig it. Well, I was gonna ask you, when did you first lay your hands on an American Pit Bull Terrier, man?
Well, I was 19. I was living in St. Augustine, Florida, and long story short, there was an ad in the paper. Um, American game bred pit bull terriers for $75, and I called the guy and told him I didn't have $75 if he would could cut me a break, and he said he'd give me one for 50. And I said, well, I don't exactly have $50 either. And he said, well, how much do you?
Okay, something happened. There was a technical difficulty, but maybe we could go back over that question that I just asked you about when did you first get your chance to lay your hands on an American Pit Bull Terrier?
Well, like I say, I was 19 years old. I was living in St. Augustine, Florida. I consider that my hometown because that's where I lived the longest. And there was an ad in the paper, American Pit Bull game bred dogs for $75. And I called him up and I was like, I don't really have $75. Is there any way you can cut me a deal? And he said, I'll give you one for 50. And I said, well, I don't exactly have $50 either. And he said, well, how much money do you exactly have? And I said, I don't have any money. I said, but I might can borrow $25 from my girlfriend. And so he said, I'll give the runt for 25. He said, so come on. And we went over there, and like I say, we pulled up, and all the other puppies were in the garage, kind of wrestling around and playing. And he come walking from around the side of the house with this little buckskin female hot on his trail. And he said, I'll tell you what, you're getting the best one out of the bunch. He said, she don't even care about being around dogs. She just wants to be around humans. And so I had her from that time until she was about 8 years old. And I was young, man. I didn't know anything about heartworms and things like that. And she had gotten heartworms, and I had to put her down. And I kind of started my journey of trying to replace her, man. Just bulldog after bulldog after bulldog. And
Well,
so,
what pulled you into the American Pit Bull Terrier over other breeds of dogs that you could have probably found or had?
well, I guess I kind of always just, around that time, they were just kind of tough. And I was a skater in St. Augustine, and there was, I guess, I hate to use the term, but a bunch of kind of like redneck guys that would torture us skaters. And I worked at Subway, and I was telling this cop, this canine cop, he was a regular, so I could just kind of talk to him like a regular guy. And I was like, man, I'm going to get a gun. I'm going to get one just off the street. And next one of these people that messes with us, like, I'm going to let him have it. And he was like, man, get you a dog. And I was like, a dog? He was like, yeah, train that bitch to attack. He was like, won't nobody come near you. He's like, you could train it on a word and it'll bite. And I was like, man, I don't know anything about training dogs. And he actually showed me how to train her and how to make her react on a specific word. And there was some accidents in between there, because I was a novice, very, very new at the whole thing. But he was a cool guy, man. I wish I could remember his name, but he kind of taught me how to do that. And then the more I got into like this breed of dogs, I was like, I don't really know that if a novice should be teaching these kind of dogs to be protective dogs because of so many accidents that happened to me being a novice. And if you're well experienced at how to train dogs and you're responsible as far as keeping them, kennel them up when strangers come over, things like that, I don't see a problem with it. But if you're new to it, there's an awkward stage there where, yeah, you might can say the word, and yeah, they'll attack, but they kind of don't know when to stop, or you kind of haven't taught them that yet,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of a weird little 3 month phase there to where some accidents could happen if you're new.
I can understand that. Well, could you tell us a little bit about the dog that you first had? Like, how was she?
Well, she didn't have papers, but I do remember they were from Massachusetts and they were staying in St. Augustine about 3 months. They had rented a vacation house, and I remember him saying she was Jeep and something else. And he was like, you can even see the black spot on her tail. And I remember him saying something about that was a honey bunch trait or something. And she had that black mark, about 4 or 5 inches up from her tail. But what was funny is, like, back in those times, you used to cut the pit bull's tail off, like you had it docked, and
Yeah.
so I had it docked and all that, and so it's kind of weird now that nobody does that, because back then that was what everybody did, was dock their tail and dock their ears. I never did get her ears done, but I got her tail done. But she was just, man, my best friend. I didn't go anywhere without that dog. If she couldn't go, I didn't go. Unless it was to work, that dog was with me 24/7.
That's right. That's right. Hey,
If
nothing
I
like
went to a
having a
party, she
dog.
went with me.
Ain't nothing like having a dog as your best friend, man. Got
Man,
your
girls
back
would come
too.
over and they'd be like, "You're like, go to lay in the bed," and they'd be like, "Your dog's in my spot." I'm like, "No, no, you want her spot."
Yeah, I'm just thinking about a buddy of mine. He used to have what's the dog's name? Shoot, I'm trying to think of it right now. But he used to ride around Crypto. That was his dog's name, was Crypto, and
That's a cool name. I
he used
like
to
that.
ride around with the dog in the front seat next to him, and his girlfriend would be sitting in the back. I used to
Hell yeah.
thought that was funny.
That's
But
kind of disrespectful, but hey, I can get behind it, brother. I can, because
yeah,
I've been there.
early on, when you were getting into the dogs, were there any dog men or dog women that caught your attention or inspired you?
Well, I was living in St. Augustine when I got her, and then I moved to Georgia, so I didn't really know anyone. But there was some old timers that I met along the way. One was Pepsi. He was in with Divine and them, and a lot of old timers they know who Pepsi is, and he was a pretty big influence around that time. And there was another guy named Julian. He was an old timer, and these guys were probably in their late 60s or 70s. And the way they brought me up was not like a friend. It was like, let's see what foolery we could get this young kid to do with his dogs and then laugh at him. Because they would tell me shit to do just to see if was dumb enough to do it. And they would all laugh about it later.
Hmm.
And that's kind of when I started to notice that there was a lot of contradiction in these dogs. Like, they'll tell you one thing, but then do something different. And so, like Westbury, I remember one time I pulled up. I was like, "Man, sell me a match dog." He said, "All right." I said, "You will?" He was like, "Yeah, I'll sell you a match dog." I said, "How much?" He said, 10 grand. I said, "Dang, how's she bred?" He said, "She ain't got no papers." I said, "What?" "She ain't got no papers, 10 grand." He said, "You don't set up the first." Now, everything I'm speaking about has been well over 25
I
years
just
ago.
wanted to make sure I let them know that this is all historical stuff, educational. This man is not 18, 19 anymore.
Right, right, right. So he was like, "I'll set up the first match. You'll make your money back." He said, "When she comes into heat, I'll breed her. I know what male I want to take her to, yada, yada." Had all these rules kind of thing. And I was like, fuck that. I'm like, man, what am I allowed to do? Feed her? So I just kind of, and I was like, man, you can't like expect me to pay that much money for a dog and you have all the control and da, 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 da. And he was like, now you're learning. He was like, these dog men will tell you a bunch of shit just to get money from you or whatever. But something in the back of my mind tells me after years of pondering about this, I'm like, if I'd have had 10 grand, he'd have sold me some piece of shit. He ain't no different than the rest of them, you know?
Well,
Like,
that was something good that he told you that stuck with you. Was there anything else that you could say from like any fellow dogman or somebody who inspired you that just really stuck with you uh all these years?
man, so many things. Champions are built, not born. That's one of them that I can remember. He was like, he always called me son. He was like, son, he said, there's one thing you got to understand is you got to have a bond with the dog before you can expect to get anything out of the dog. So it's kind of hard because you want to define what a bond is. Like to these younger guys, they're what's a bond? How do you know? Well, you know when you look at the dog and he can read your mind. He knows when you're pissed and he just stays away from you. And he knows when you're happy in a good mood and he'll come up to you, and play fully, and that's the bond. Like, and it's kind of really hard to explain, but when it's there, you got it. It's like you don't know it's there until it's there.
Um, Outside of the dogs, I mean, I heard you speak about skateboarding and I heard you speak about, the dogs, of course. Is there anything that people don't know about you that, you're very passionate about?
And outside of dogs, I built guns for a hobby. Like I just finished a 300 blackout. I built my first AR only because I had kids and I kept trying to save money. And every time I'd save up enough money to buy an AR, they would need school clothes or some shit. So after about 2 years of that, I was like, man, if you're ever going to get an AR, you're going to have to build it piece by piece so you can buy it piece by piece. So my son was like, Dad, you know how to build an AR? I was like, nope, but there's a YouTube video for everything.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So,
there is.
but
That's
yeah,
cool.
man, it's really, man, I would just like to see a new generation of dogmen. It's like there's no old timers left that want to take young people under their wing, and you can't blame them because everybody, it seems like, is trying to put something bad on you. If you do one little thing outside of line, they're going to twist it into some kind of neglect or animal abuse or something like that. And so I can see why nobody wants to get caught up in a bunch of crap. And so
Yeah.
I would just I respect people that put the dogs first. Like me, I can't sleep if I think my dog are lacking for something or something like that. Like
Me
I might as
either.
well just go broke trying to fix it because I'm not going to sleep anyway.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand that. Well, out of all the dogs that you've had, do you have an all-time favorite or one that just really left a mark on you that you're just like, man?
Well, I would have to say that first dog, of course, her name was Poison Ivy. And then I had a string of years where I had dogs with no papers, and I'd say all the things to justify what people would say. You can't get. I ain't never seen a set of papers scratch, or can't throw them papers in there and get 10 more minutes out of my dog. And papers don't make the dog. The dog makes the papers, and all that crap. So then I finally got into paper dogs, and I was so happy. I bought a pair, a male and a female, and they were brother and sister, Malicious Mallory and Mickey Mayhem. And I finally had dogs with papers, and so I took them to that one of the old timers, the one that told me about the chickens, and he was like, "Yeah, you got you a 20-minute cur here." I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, you got you a show dog." He was like, "You see all these asterisks? Those represent staff." And I was like, "No shit." He was like, "Yep." And I was like, "Well, I'll tell you what, this dog ain't no damn cur." And he had about 80 dogs, and I was like, "What's your best dog on the yard?" And he pointed to a dog named Dash. And so he was like, "Saturday, be here at 8 o'clock." So that was like a week, like 6 days. So there wasn't no like keep or anything. It was straight off the chain. And I got there and the pit was already set up. And there was a guy named Willie. He was the ref. And when he said, "Release your dogs," my dog grabbed his dog across the face and picked it up in there and was like shaking it like a rag. Like the dog looked like it didn't have any bones in it. And I heard, hey, get your dog, get your dog. And I was so like, I was like, what I do? What did I do? And what it was is his dog was getting annihilated by my 20-minute cur, you know. And so then he wanted to two dog him, and she said, hey, Willie, go get Little Rock. And I'd been trying to buy Little Rock for the longest, and he wanted 500, and I had 475 in my pocket. So I was trying to get my dog. I was in the box, and I was reaching in my pocket, and I was like, Little Rock, I was like, he's coming home with me. And I remember him saying, well, don't you want to see if he'll go? I said, yeah, I would like to see if he'll go, but not against this motherfucker because he's going to tear his ass up. So I ended up taking home two dogs, well, my dog and that dog. And then they did end up scrapping one time. And that big dog, I guess, did end up being a 20-minute cur because he tore that other dog up. But when I walked him up to the chain, that other dog kind of limped out to the end of his chain and growled. And that kind of half staff, half Crenshaw dog, he wouldn't even look him in the eye. So, but then again, you know, he could be like, he's not a challenge. I already whooped his ass, you know, bring me somebody new.
Yeah.
So,
And just to remind you guys, again, this is all historical, educational, entertainment purposes only. We're talking about
fact
stuff
or
way
fiction.
in the past. You know what I mean? So,
right. You don't know if it's fact or fiction.
yes, sir. That's true. If you could bring any dog from the past, or that could be from your yard, it could be from an old timer's yard, or any dog, a dog that you just admired, whatever, you could bring it back and own that dog today. What dog would that be?
Oh, I'd probably have to say one of my favorite dogs is Clemens bred him, and I believe it was Dogman's Swamper. Actually, that's why Stomper's got his name, because it rhymed with Swamper. And but man, there's like a 30-second video on YouTube, and Clemens was talking about taking him to a show and how the judges didn't even give him a second look, and he was like, if you don't like this bulldog, you just don't like bulldogs, or something like that. And man, I've always liked that dog. I've spent years trying to find blood from that dog, and I found some one time. It was like over in Texas, but it was way watered down and kind of bred out, and the dogs didn't even resemble him. And then I found another guy in Alabama that straight up been breeding just nothing but Clemens dogs for like 20 years. And I started to get a dog from him, but you just could never catch him at home, man. He only has like one litter a year or something. And if you don't get the timing right, you're going to miss out. So I don't know. Never really followed up through with it, you know.
Well, why that dog though? I was kind of,
Man, I was influenced by Eli dogs, them old timers. Pepsi, he had all that Roadblock Joey stuff, but the other old timer wanted to talk me about the chickens. He had 80 just Eli dogs, the black, muscled up, amber eyes. You see them in the dark, you're like, I'm not going that way. Like, I'm going another way. I don't know, man. I've just always had Eli dogs. I understand Eli dogs, and I don't know. I just know how to work them. I know how to breed them. So
I can
they're
do.
like, a lot of people want, are running like Red Boy Jocko or Macho Buck or Mayday. And to me, I've never had experience with it. I really don't know how to breed it or cross it. And hell, a Mayday dog, if you ask me, I'm not saying anything bad about the dog itself, but it's got 5 bloodlines in the pedigree. Tombstone, let's see, Bolio, Tombstone, Red Boy Jocko, and Hollingsworth.
Yeah.
And so when a dog has that many bloodlines in it, I don't know what traits to expect from a breeding, and I don't know if I'm getting the traits from if I create something I like, I don't know how to create it because I don't know what gene they threw out of which bloodline.
Yeah.
So it gets complicated. I like to take dogs and like add like just Eli to it and see what it does. Like if I have something opposite, and I always, when I breed, I go back to something that's already in the pedigree. Like if I'm missing traits, I'll look at the dog, see what I'm missing, and then I'll find a dog, the first, like whatever the most of whatever most bloodlines are in that ped, and I'll try to find a dog bred that way that has the traits that I'm missing and hope that it can produce. And if I can't breed to it, then I'll try to get something off of it or something like that.
You know what? I like what you just said, and I wanted to put that out there to my audience. You know, sometimes, like what he just said, he said, "I know this dog," and we used to have a term, it was called "get in where you fit in." You know, if you know what you know what I mean. Sometimes you just don't. You like what you like, and that's what it is. And I respect that, man. I like that, man. Well, I heard you speak about, you got kids. So how do you balance your time, with being in the yard with the dogs and just like your family time?
Oh, that's easy. You just have them help you with the dogs.
I like that.
But both of my boys, I wanted to bring them up as dog men, but it's not maybe for everybody. And I will say this: I was talking to somebody the other night about my son, because him letting him get like Jocko, he just had surgery and all that. From where he was at, he kind of neglected him, and it cost him. Like he had to have surgery and things like that. But he I was telling him, son, there's no excuse for this. Like, it never should have got this bad. So I was trying to kind of scold him, but he started showing me pictures and dates of when he had his last wormer, when he had his ivermectin, when he had his shots, and he had all this marked down on his calendar and his phone. And I was thinking, man, you don't even know it, but your dog, man, you don't even know it yet. I'm like, because that's something that he learned from me, to document, like when a dog comes in heat, even if you don't breed her, you'll at least know when the next heat is going to come around. So little things like that. So they maybe not be ready for dogs yet, which I can understand, because he hasn't, no kids. He's not married yet. He hasn't started a family yet. And with these dogs, man, they keep you married to the yard.
Right.
Like, if I'm not at work, I'm here, and there's always a project, always something that needs to be done, always something that can be made better. And so he needs to live his life. Maybe when he's older, maybe he'll get the itch to want to be a dog man.
I understand that. So for some of my audience, you guys may not know that he does have a Warmouth YouTube, Warmouth Kennels YouTube channel where you can check out some of his dogs and see what he does. But I noticed on your show there was a moment where you had a hurricane, and I was
Oh,
going
Lord,
to
yeah.
ask, how did that affect your yard and your dogs and you and maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Well, I could have went and stayed somewhere else, like a hotel or something that maybe would have been safer, because I knew it was passed right over, like my town. But I'm not going to be anywhere where my dogs aren't. Like, I'm going to be here. And so there was like a bunch of trees down there. There must have been like 20 trees down in my yard, but there was one huge pine tree that fell on my truck, my house. All the, like, three or four dogs, where trees fell in their area. So it was about, like, I don't know, 1:32 in the morning, something like that. And I I heard it calm down outside, so I grabbed my water boots and my flashlight, and I'm out checking on dogs, and I'm like, shit, you got to come inside. You got to come inside. We got to find a new spot for you. So I'm stepping on live wires and all kinds of shit. Every word out of my mouth is the F word. Like, I'm just like, shit. So it was crazy, and I haven't really made any videos in about. I think I did like 3 videos in 6 months, because I just been working, trying to rebuild everything. My yard had to be totally reworked, redesigned, shade claws had to be, prepared and all, because I don't have very many trees now, and it's just all been work. And a lot of people ask me, why aren't you on, YouTube more, or why aren't you on Facebook, or why don't you do more videos? And I'm like, I'm a real dog man. I'm not like an internet dog man. Like, I'm out here being a dog man. I'm covered in sweat, bugs, shit. I mean, whatever. And I live it. Like, and I'm not downing anybody that spent a lot of time on YouTube or anything like that. I had more than one person could handle. And and I'm very impatient. I wanted to get it done as soon as possible. So every weekend, every off hour that I wasn't on the clock, I was working here, building dog houses and painting and things like that.
Man, I was gonna say them dog houses you build, man. I really like them, man. They're
Thank
nice,
you, man.
man. There's some nice dog houses. You got a really nice yard, man.
I appreciate it.
That's something that really caught my eyes when I was, watching your channel, man. And you got this dog named Banger.
Oh, yeah, that's my pride and joy.
Oh, well, why don't you tell us a little bit about your pride and joy, man?
Well, in my opinion, like conformation wise, structure wise, attitude, I mean, he's probably just the cherry on top. I mean, I just love everything about him. He's got a great temperament. I don't know. A lot of people might, to me, I want to say it's kind of like easy to breed a dog with prey drive, but does he know when to turn it off? Like, you have dogs that are super hyper, and like you could just tell they're box material, but they don't know when to chill out, when to just be easy, because you want to love on them and you don't want to get all scratched up and jumped all over. And you kind of can't teach them anything unless you want to run them on the mill for about 30 minutes and then try to teach them to sit or something, because they're just all over the place. And so I kind of, this dog, I took him to the show. He was like 8 months, and I took him to a AADRI show about 3 weeks ago, and he was on a 6-foot leash, and there were other dogs walking by, and he would go, and then there were some kids on the other side of him, and he would go like raising hell trying to get this dog, and then run completely over to the kids and, wagging his tail and playing, and he could turn it on and off. Like he was animal aggressive, but loved people. Like, so he's just perfect temperament. And that's what I like. That's what my goal as a breeder is. I want to take it back to where people don't look at these dogs like a box dog, or I don't know. I want to make it what it used to be, like the family pet that could also kick somebody's, kick another animal's ass,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's what the breed is about. And a lot of people don't understand that, but we do. And that's why we love these dogs, man. Well, here's the part of the show that I call Quickfire questions. It's where I kind of ask you this or that, and you kind of pick which one, or you could even say both.
All right.
Okay, let's get into it, man. Treadmill or carpet mill? Or slat mill or carpet mill, excuse me.
I would say slat mill if you have one that you can put a slight incline on, or maybe add, like, I don't like the free spinning. If you can add resistance to it, I want them to build endurance, but not ignore muscle. I want to build both.
Okay.
So if you could add a little bit of resistance, whether that be through an incline or one that you can add resistance to, I would say a slat mill. But really, I prefer a swim tank over anything.
Swim tank. I can dig it. Okay. Collar or harness?
Collar for, I guess, convenience. But if he's a pulling dog that's going to be pulling me, or if he's pulling any kind of weight or anything, definitely harness.
Can you explain to my audience why you said what you just said right there? If they're pulling and stuff, why you would put the harness on?
Yeah, I don't want him to choke himself out. Like, I don't know. He'll start, coughing and wheezing, and to me, you're doing more harm than good. So I just want him to be as comfortable as possible so he can work out as long as possible.
That's right. Okay, mouth or game?
Both. Both. Man, I'll tell you what. I don't have luck breeding for. Anytime I breed for mouth, I lose game. Anytime I breed for gameness, I lose mouth. It's like so hard to get the perfect balance. Every dog with an extremely hard mouth, yeah, they had a hard mouth when you can get them to use it. It's like they didn't want to use it. They didn't have the attitude, the gameness to go along, or the prey drive to go along with it. So then when you breed gameness side, typically lost mouth.
I understand that.
That's just from experience, like.
Yeah, no, I do. I understand. I totally understand that one. I was gonna say, how about kibble or raw?
I'm gonna say kibble, because only to maintain regularity, like consistency, where you could feed them raw, which is generally everybody throws everything in the kitchen sink in there, and I don't want them to have the runs or like upset stomach or anything. So even with kibble, when you switch food, it'll give them the runs for like 3 days. So I'd say kibble. And if every time I do switch food, I try to mix half a bag of the old with half a bag of the new and kind of get them used to it so it doesn't upset their stomach.
That's right.
But I will say a quality kibble. You can't just freaking feed old Roy and expect, to have perfect dogs.
Yeah, that's true. How about chain setup or kennel run?
That's a no-brainer, man. Chain setup all day. The only reason why I think society is against chains is because every ASPCA commercial and Humane Society commercial they've seen over the last 20 years has shown a starving pit bull with green water, 80-pound chain and shitty housing with Sarah McLachlan singing Arms of an Angel in the background. So I feel like they've been brainwashed because they've never seen a happy dog on a chain.
Right.
My dogs, and my kennels are 12 foot long and 4 foot wide, so 48 square feet. And over the course of on my YouTube channel, I get all the comments, or there's a special place in hell for people that keep dogs on a chain, and we should put you on a chain, see how you like it. Never, not one time have I had a ill or negative comment about a dog being in the kennel. And I'm like, that's only 48 square feet, like on my 10-foot chain outs, which I'm trying to get everybody to not call them chain outs anymore, call them exercise stations. And like I hang spring poles. I'm trying to get the whole yard to where at least half of it has spring poles, and then I can just alternate the dogs into different locations, and so that each one of them get a chance at the spring pole. And that's another thing. You want to work your dog and get him used to flirt pole, spring pole, treadmill, and all that. You got to do it when he's a pup. But like someone like me, I work 40 hours a week. I don't have all these hours to put into working my dogs. So I hang spring poles in their chain spot, and I give them like balls to play with or kongs or whatever. And so they're training themselves while I'm at work. And like I keep chickens running around the yard, and that helps bring out prey drive because the chickens will stay just outside of chain's length, and these puppies see them and they want them. And so they're learning, they're teaching themselves without me being here. I just keep chickens in the yard, spring poles at certain chain outs, and I call them exercise stations because the chain out has just a bad reputation. I
hear you, man. But I like what you just said. All that right there is some game. That's actually some secret game that you just spilled out to some people. They could be.
It is, man. Yeah, I did a video about it. Somebody messaged me and said, "Hey, man, everybody don't need to know all that," or something like I had told some dog secret I wasn't supposed to. And I'm like, man, I'm just out here to help people, dude.
Yeah. At the same time, like I tell people, we're all men. Just raising our dogs, man. That's what we're doing. You know, we love our animals, man.
I actually had a vet came out Wednesday. I finally found a vet that would come to my yard and do all my rabies.
Nice.
And it was like $350. Three of them were already done, so I only had like 6 to do. And she was like, "These dogs are in immaculate condition." She's like, "I haven't seen not one flea." She was like, "What do you use for flea control?" And when I told her laundry detergent, she was like, "What?" I was like, "Yep, laundry detergent." And then I told her I mix my own spray, but dish detergent doesn't have to be Dawn, but anything that makes suds will kill the flea instantly, because they eat the suds and it kills them. Right. And so laundry detergent, I buy this cheap kind. It's like $1.38, and every weekend I throw a bag out in each chain spot, scatter it out. And every time it rains, it makes suds. And so when it's hot, the sun's been beaten down all day, and then it rains. That creates humidity, and the ground steams, and then that's when the eggs hatch. That's when you'll have a hatching. Okay. And so as soon as they hatch, the suds are already there because it's been raining, and laundry detergent's already in the dirt. So it hatches the eggs and kills them right when they hatch.
Nice. That's some good game too.
And see, my spray is I use vinegar, water, dish soap, and couple tablespoons of salt. And so that the vinegar helps repel flies and gnats. The soapy water, once you put the dish soap in there with the water, you shake it up and it makes suds. And then the salt will help heal any wounds, dry up any wounds that the dog might have. And I don't use not one pesticide. I don't have to use any pesticides or toxins or anything on their fur and the ground or anything.
And you spray? Do you spray the animal with that?
Yep. Yeah, it's just 50% water, 25% dish soap, 25% vinegar, 2 tablespoons of salt, and a spray bottle. And you spray it up, and you spray them down. And then I put Vaseline in my hands and wipe it over their eyes and ears. And then whatever's left on my hands, I rub it in their back, and that helps they stay on it with the Vaseline. And so it's just Vaseline in my spray is all I use all summer. That and laundry detergent.
All right, I hope you guys are paying attention to that. Write that down. Okay. I
don't like to use pesticides, especially when I've got a litter right now. Coco just dropped puppies off Coltrane, so they're he's top side is 3/4 Stonewall, 1/4 Boogeyman. The bottom side is 50% Red Boy coming off Register America, Garner's Tramp Red Boy, and Santo and Spike coming off Santos. Nice. So it's kind of like a little twist on a tab breeding. It's Honey Bunch, Red Boy with 25% Spike.
Nice, man. Nice. So how about tug of war or fetch?
Depends. You want to build up strength or endurance. So fetch is like a treadmill. You just want to build up endurance. Tug of war builds up a lot of things. Strength and your jaw muscles, front end, rear end if they're pulling backward. Also it could help bring out prey drive,
Okay, I dig it, man. I dig it. So we'll say both on that.
I would say both, definitely.
Road work or hiking?
Again, both, because road work is endurance, but hiking can build balance and endurance. If you're especially on uneven surfaces and you climbing up mountains and down valleys and jumping over logs and shit like that. So I would say hiking, just because you're probably less likely to run into another dog or another person. Okay. If you're in the woods, All
right. So what kind of legacy do you and Warmouth Kennels hope to leave on the breed?
Well, I will say this. I've made my worst mistakes in these dogs trying to live up to another person's definition of what a real Dogman was. If I felt like that person had more experience or more knowledge, I just wanted to listen to whatever they said, and that's what I would do. But go with your gut. you know your dog better than anybody that's just now laid eyes on it. I don't care if they're looking at it hunt or the way that it hunts or the way that its style. You know that dog better than anybody. Don't let anybody else tell your dog's a piece of shit. And be careful who you listen to, because some people act like they're your friends, but really they're rooting against you the whole time. Because I've noticed that I've given dogs to people I thought were friends, and they were 10 times harder on my dogs, and then they'd baby theirs and tell me my dogs were a piece of shit. And I'm like, you didn't 10 dog your dog, you know? Like, so just, I don't know, go with your gut, man. How do you say it? Like, this ain't a contest about who's the better dog, man. And there's not a finish line. There's no trophy at the end. Just go at your own pace. And when you forget about all the shit that other people say, and you just start going with your gut and doing your yard and your thing, whatever you think is right, and ignoring everybody else and their input or whatever, as long as you got reasons for what you're doing, that's when you start to prosper. That's when you start to really make a difference. When you ignore everybody else, what they say, their judgments or whatever.
That's right. Keep your eye on your own yard, and you'll do better than trying to worry about the next man. I can feel that, man.
If you think something's too hard for the dog, or if you think the dog's had enough, or the dog needs to listen to your gut. Just listen to your gut. Just go with whatever feels right.
Right. So Warmouth, what's one misconception about the American Pit Bull Terrier that you'd like to get straight right here, right now for my audience?
That animal aggressive dogs are also people aggressive. Seems like a lot of people in society, I don't know if it's lack of education or what, but they seem to think if a dog is animal aggressive, it's also people aggressive. Yeah. And that couldn't be farther from the truth.
Right. That's like thinking that somebody's a hunter and they go out and they kill deer, that they want to be a serial killer.
Right. Something like that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because the dog is animal aggressive does not any way, shape, or form mean that it's people aggressive. Matter of fact, I have dogs on my yard that can rip a hog's brain out and then go right to playing with your elderly grandma or your infant child and be just as gentle as a lamb, you know?
Yeah. Yes, sir. I got one more question for you. For someone just getting into the breed that doesn't know much about the American Pit Bull Terrier, what's a little bit of advice you would give them on their start if they were to ask you?
Well, number one, I would say get with a reputable breeder, someone that's been around 40 years or 30 years, someone that understands what you're looking for. First thing, when people ask me for a puppy or whatever, I'm like, what's the dog going to be used for? And if they're in their 20s, 25 to 30, and they're married, and they have young kids, and they tell me they want, I'm like, I'm like, you got small kids. I'm like, you want a pet. You want a pet with attitude. That's what you want, and so you kind of got to put the right pup in the right home. A lot of times, people just sell to anybody with money. And to me, hell, if people want to protect their reputation, put the dogs in the hands of people that can do something with them, in the hands of experienced people that have these dogs, that understand the different personalities. So know what you're looking for. Don't ask for something be careful what you wish for. I should say that. Yeah. Because, I learned a long time ago that if you pray for patience, my grandma always told me I lack patience. She said, if you ever learn patience, you'll be all right. But be careful what you wish for, because if you pray for patience, God's going to present a whole lot of reasons, a whole lot of life experiences for you to learn patience. And you're just going to be like, why am I going through all this? Well, you prayed for patience. So at the end of all this, you're hopefully going to have patience.
Yeah.
So
that's a good thing. I think
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But be careful what you wish for. You know, you just might get it.
yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Warmouth, we have a thing on this show that we call give a dog a bone. It's like giving a man his flowers. And I just want to thank you for all that you do for the breed and these great dogs that you have on your yard. This clean yard that you have, man. And I can't stress that enough to a lot of my listeners about being a dog man. It's more than just having a 5 dogs or 30 dogs or whatever, keeping a clean yard like you have and the nice homes that your dogs are living in. And man, I saw how you even put the shade covers over the dogs and
Yep.
stuff like that, man. And like you said, when the vet came over and did what she did, she said, man, this was an immaculate yard and immaculate dogs. That is what a dog man is. And I just want to thank you for all that you do for the breed. And there, got your bone, man.
All right, brother. Hey, I thank you, brother. I appreciate the recognition, man.
Yes.
You know, sometimes we work and work and work and we never get recognition. And hell, that's half of why people try, is hoping that somebody just say good job, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And well, Warmouth, I don't really have an outro for this show. I mean, my son says it is, but I just tell the people from Beer and Bulldogs, till next time.
Yes, sir. Salute, man.